Hello, I'm Jason Craning, and today we're going to show you the setup on the Memorial Environments Video Bier. You're going to get three different containers. One is the wall, one is the projector, and one is the actual Bier itself. First, we're going to start on the wall. When you get this box, and I'll insert a picture here for what that box looks like, you're going to unpack everything out of the cardboard and lay it out on the floor, kind of like I have right here. This is what you should have in your box. 4 short pieces, 4 long pieces. That's what makes up the rectangle for the wall. You should have 2 center supports that look like this, 2 side locking mechanisms that look like this, 2 risers, and then the feet that go with the risers. You'll also get a front piece of fabric and a back piece of fabric. So that's what's everything when you get the box open, set it out like this, and then we'll take the next step showing you how to put it together. The next step is laying the rectangle out on the floor. You'll notice that these have numbers on the pieces. So you match 8 to 8, 7 to 7, 6 to 6, and so on. You'll make a big rectangle on the floor like this. The longer pieces are the 10-foot side. The shorter pieces are the 8-foot side. These locking mechanisms, you're going to get 4 of these corner pieces and a bunch of these straight pieces, and I'll show you how these go in. We're going to look at the straight pieces first. So come on down here. Each one of these are spring-loaded, as you can see. Take a piece, push your finger on it, and lock it into place like that. And then push your finger on that little spring-loaded piece again and line it up and lock it in place. Now, these are not going to hold like that. You have to take the Allen wrench that comes with it and put it in the hole and give it a half turn like that. And once you've given it that half turn, then they're really, really stable. Now, on the shorter side pieces, as you're assembling this, there is a double lock mechanism. It's not only this one, but it's this guy right here too. So you're going to put this in, and I'll show you how these work. As you turn this, that clamp opens like that. So that's what grabs onto the frame. So you're going to put this in place like that. Doesn't have to be specific, just kind of cut the halfway point like that, and then take that cam lock and twist it in place a half turn. And then this thing is super, super stable on the edge, just like that. So that's how an assembled side piece goes. The rest of these pieces, you'll go around and continue putting these in here. So for the corner pieces, again, spring load that guy, push him in place, spring load that guy, push that one in place, and then take your locking mechanism and take a turn like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around this frame and put each one of those locking mechanisms in, and when this is stable and done, we'll go on to the next stage. Now that your frame's assembled, it should look like this, and I'm going to kind of have you follow me around on the short side, on the side that's got the extra anchor on it. Don't forget this goes one on here, and then if you'll pan up and look at the other side over here, that's the other side. The long side has a center support right here. It's got 2 of those spring-loaded pieces in here, and then the lock mechanism goes in the middle portion of this. It really can only go one place, but put the lock mechanism here. These can float forward and back. Just make sure they're pushed all the way forward when you lock it down. And I can't emphasize this enough. Make sure that these are locked. If these aren't locked, sometimes if you push down in this because it's spring loaded, you think you may have locked it. You got to double check it and make sure it's got that half turn in there, and you'll know it because it stops moving. So each one of these heads has to be locked, and when you're finished with that, this framer is ready to put the fabric on. All right, we're going to do the feet too. So this is kind of pre-assembled. An assembled foot can look one of 2 ways. Either it can look like this, or it can look like this. Some versions will come with 2 feet, and some will come with 1. They're just as stable either way. If you do 2 feet, this thing is going to have the metal section underneath. So when you put these together, if you want to come in here for a second, I'm going to show you how to do this. Take these out of the box and the little threaded pieces out of the box. And when you thread this, be careful not to cross thread it because they are aluminum and that metal can cross thread. So when it goes in, make sure you're not forcing it, you're going really smooth. If you're doing the 2-foot version, again, the metal is going to go underneath the piece like that. Keep this a little bit loose right here, and then just slide this in on top of it like that and tighten these down. When it's put together and you've got all 4 of these on that one, take your Allen wrench and just get a little turn, because you want this to be nice and stable. You don't want these messing around. You don't have to over tighten that either. Make sure the cam lock is on the top. If it's on the bottom, there's nothing for it to grab onto. So this cam lock's gonna be on the top. If you do the single foot version, you're gonna take this and it's gonna be spun around the other way. See how on this one, the metal's underneath the riser? On this one, the metal is on the outside of the riser, like that. So same thing, you're just flipping it around so the metal's on the outside, and then you take it and tighten these screws down. Make sure, again, not to cross thread it. And then take your Allen wrench and put it in there and just give a little bit of a tight turn. In this version, this and this should be flush to the floor. For the rest of today's setup, we're going to do the double version, but just know that you can do it either way. Now we're going to put the fabric in place. It doesn't matter which piece of white fabric you put on first. I would have the frame on a carpeted surface so it doesn't scratch. And if you'll come down here and notice there's a little loop on this piece right here, that's always indicative that it goes in the lower right-hand corner of the frame. So you want to go lower right, find that loop. When you put this in, this is really critical. The silicone edge that's on here, if you'll come down here a little closer, you can see this. Don't put it in like that where you can see the silicone edge, because it'll slip right out of there. What you want to do is half turn like that and put it in so it's going just like that. So when it goes into the corner, not like this, 1/2 turn like that. And what I'm going to do is get my 4 corners set first, and then we're going to do the sides. Now that you've got the 4 corners set, and don't forget that silicone edge doesn't go up like this, you do a 1/2 turn, so it's going into that piece. Once the corners are set, then you can do the sides. And what I like to do is I do a side like that, and then I'll go around and I'll do a side like that, right at the joints, like that, not putting the whole thing in yet. One other note is don't step on the fabric. This is projection fabric, so you really don't want your shoe prints on it, like that. Now in this last piece right here, it's going to start getting tight. It should start getting tight. If you have to pull this down a little bit, like see how my fingers grab this and pull it down? That's okay. You can do that. Put that piece in like that, and then we're going to spread it across. Once those 4 sections are in, really all it takes is your thumbs to go like that and put it in place. If there's any kind of a wrinkle, just spread the wrinkle out. It goes right out, just like that. And again, at the very end, it's going to start getting tighter, and that's okay. It should be getting tighter. Again, if you see any wrinkles on here, just push them apart like that. So I'll start in the center on this one, and then come together there and there. I think just one more side and a half, and we're done. It should be completely wrinkle-free when you're finished. This is the last side, and if again it gets a little tighter, just grab that like I'm doing and pull it in place, and then set it with your fingers. And then you can flip the frame over, very lightweight, just lift it up. Might help to have another person do this with you. And then we'll set it on its back. And then we'll put the other piece of fabric in. Now we're going to put the feet on. Your fabric should be drum tight like that. This mechanism is kind of like that center support piece where you put the Allen wrench through, and you'll find this, and that cam lock will open up on the frame and lock in place. It's really critical that these are locked. So when you start off, make sure they're both open. Remember, there are holes on one side. There are not holes on the other side. So if you don't want to see the holes, you can always spin the wall around, but you want the holes to be on the back side. So have 2 people do this with you. We're going to be lifting this up off the ground 18 inches. So the location of this can really go anywhere on the bottom. You don't want to go too far in, but you could do it at the very edge, or you could do up to about, maybe 15 inches in or so. You don't want to get too close to the center. I'm going to put mine about 6 inches in. So I'm going to lift up one corner, have the other person let their corner stay on the floor, and I'm going to lift this up until I get in place. So we're going to lift. It's real lightweight. We're going to go up to the 18 inches like that. And once it looks like it's centered on that piece, then you can have the other person lift their end up to 18 inches off the floor. So that kind of settles it in place like that. Keep them nice and level. Find that cam lock in there, and then it's going to grab that thing, and you lock that in place. Make sure you get a nice, good lock on there. Find that one and lock that in place. When that's on there, you should be able to go like that, and nothing should move. It needs to be sitting in that cam lock really firmly. The next thing I'm going to do now is have that person keep it at 18 inches off the ground, and we'll take the other piece and move it over here and do the same thing. I've got my holes on the outside on this one, so I'm going to mimic that here. So you've got them both on the same side, and we're going to drop that down in place about 6 inches in, and when that's in, put your Allen wrench in there and do that half turn till it stops moving. Make sure it locks in place. Another one, half turn, and it stops moving. And when you get it in there, test it like that and make sure it's not moving at all. At that point, the wall should be sitting up level just like it is now. Now that your wall is set up, there's an important note. Some facilities have uneven floors, or the carpet's higher in one space than another. If your wall isn't completely vertical, if it's leaning forward a little bit or backwards a little bit, you can fix that by putting a shim underneath the foot, like a little cardboard shim or something, to make it lean back just a fraction of an inch so it's completely vertical, or lean forward a fraction of an inch. You'll note that my holes are in the front here. I forgot to spin this around, so you can put them in the back so you don't have to see them. But shimming this wall will help it go completely vertical, and that's important. Once you've gotten to the projector, unbox it. It comes in 2 boxes. Get the projector out of the box, and note a couple things about this. This is the speaker on the front. Some of these are black, some of them are white, depending on what kind of a beer that you got. The speaker goes towards the audience, and on this side of it, there's a plate right here that's got a little release cover plate. Come on in here, I'll show you this. There's a little switch right here that if you push this forward like that, it releases that. And you can either remove this cover and leave it off, so it's easy access for the USB, or you can leave it attached and put it back on when you're done. There's a couple buttons in here that are important. That's the power button. You push that one time to get it to fire up, and then from then on, you can use the remote. This is the focus wheel. If you get everything set up and your text is a little bit blurry, you can play with that a little bit. This is where your USB sticks will go on. When you get a video loaded on here, you can put it right in one of these USB slots. There's a couple of those in there. There's HDMI ports in there. And then this is the power plug right here. On some of the units, the power plug will be running through the Bier already. So all you have to do is plug it right in from the Bier. Once that's in place, like I said, you can either leave this cover off, take it off completely and detach it from this cord, or you can put it back. It goes up like that and then clicks down in place, and you're all set. So we're going to place this projector next and keystone it, and we'll do that in the next video. Now we're going to keystone and set the projector. You'll notice on these Biers that there's a shelf sitting here. The reason why there's a shelf there that slides out is because if the projector sat directly into the Bier, the projection would come up and hit the bottom of the casket. So we had to make this so it could clear that. That's why the shelf slides out. And on the newest versions of the Biers, which you'll be receiving, the edge of this comes out even further past this, and there's a support leg to keep the leg or the shelf completely level. So pull your shelf out, and then we're going to take the projector and we're going to set it speaker side facing the audience. We're going to set it on the shelf, and when you put this on the shelf, what you want to do is line it up so the edge of the projector is dead even with the edge of that shelf. When that's all set, then we're going to pull this out far enough so the leg flips out, and this whole edge, this projector on your versions is going to be sitting out about right here. So when that's set, then we'll show you how to turn it on and take the next step. Once you get the projector on the Bier and the shelf is slid out all the way and the support leg is down, You want about 11 inches from the edge of this to the edge of the wall. Now, to turn this on, you got to plug it in first, and you can either hit the power button in the upper left, or you can hit the power button on the machine. So I'm going to hold this down until the blue light comes on. And when the blue light comes on, then you're going to get it to start pushing imagery to the screen. And as you can see, it's off the screen, up high, over, that doesn't matter. What you want to do is make sure that when you're at this stage, when it powers up, that you've got projection on the ceiling that you can see, and then you want it to be over the edge down here, right up to the edge. At this point, leave the Bier in place. If that's straight and everything's out, leave that. You can move the wall forward and back. And also, if your floor is off and you need to move the wall forward back a little bit, at this point, you can kind of tilt the wall back a little bit to get all the corners to fill in, or you can tilt it forward a little bit. As you see, I tilt it forward and this corner comes off. We're going to tilt it back just enough so that we can see a little bit of projection on the ceiling, and these edges are cornered, filled as well. So the first thing we're going to do, you're going to go through some setup questions. It's going to talk to you about what language you want and things like that. So go through that process. If you don't have a Google account, get a Google account and sign in, because they'll ask you to do that. You'll want to have a Google account so that you can get on the Google Play Store. Once that's all set, let's get into the settings, and we can talk about the apps and a couple things in just a minute. So on this remote, there's a settings button right there. We're going to hit that button first, and we're going to go down to installation. And then we're going to click the center button right here for wall. That black button right there in the middle of that white circle is the go button. We're going to hit that go button once. And it says edges of the image are straight but not rectangular. That's the side we want. So hit the go button on that. Now this is the fun part. You can grab those little balls up there. So if I want that ball, I can go there. If I want to go down to this ball, I push the white button and it jumps down to that ball. You can see that. If I want to go up to this one, I can push up and over and it goes to that one. We're going to grab one of these balls. We'll start on this one by hitting the go button. And this little white circle right here lets you pull this down. So watch the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Watch how I pull it down, and it pulls that broadcast off of the projection, off of the ceiling, and it puts it in the corner. And then I'm going to pull it in to the left so that we've got a white corner sitting on top of our white projection screen. We'll push that up and over to get every bit of that up and over. Now I'm done with that. So I'm going to hit the back button on the remote. If you can see that right there, that little arrow goes back. Now we're going to go down to this ball down here by pushing the white, and then it goes down that ball. That one's already lined up, so we're not going to do anything with that one. I'm going to go over to this ball in the lower right-hand corner, and I'm going to hit the go button, and then we're going to bring this one in to the left so I can see in the corner. And that one's set. Now we're going to hit the back button right there. And I'm going to go to this corner up here, hit that one. And we're going to drag that corner into the left. You can see I'm pushing the left hand there. And when I see it come in on the screen, there's my line right there. And I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And we're set right there. So when you're done, hit the back button right there. And then it's going to give you an option to go down and say return or finish. We're finished. It's all lined up. So hit finish, and then come down with the little white circle and go over to reset corrections, finish, and that's the one we want because it's all set. So we're going to hit that black button, I'm going to go, and you're all set. When you're finished with this, you really want to have the whole screen completely filled. The Bier should be set up and extended first, and then you can adjust the wall a little bit so that you get it broadcasting off the ceiling and down below. And the keystoning is what we just did with the remote. That's the way that needs to look when it's all set up. And now we'll go on to the apps. Now that you're keystoned and everything's filling, we're going to do a couple things in the settings. On your remote, that settings button right below the little house, let's press on that. And we're going to go down to the settings here, press on the go button in the middle. We're going to turn off the motion sensor. If it's blue, it's on. You want it off. The reason why is if it's on, if you break this plane right here, it will go into a safety mode and shut the screen down for a second, and you'll never have an application for that to happen. So turn off the motion sensor first. The volume button is on the right-hand side, so that toggles the volume up and down. And then across from that on this side is the brightness button. Let's make sure the brightness is toggled all the way up to the top. And then we're going to get the two most important apps on here. One is the VLC player and the other one is the browser. So this is how you get apps. We're assuming a couple things. We're assuming that you've got internet access and that you've already signed up for your Google account. So on the remote, we're going to go to that little button right there, which is the little 6 squares in it. And we're going to hit that to go to the App Store. Google Play is already automatically on these machines, so light that up and hit the Go button. And then we're going to search for VLC. So you can actually, when that microphone's lit up, you can either type in VLC or you can hit the Go button and say VLC. And it'll find it, and you'll want to open that, or you want to install that and open that one. So that's the first one you want to put on. That's what plays the videos. And then the next thing that we're going to put on is we're going to go and search again. And we'll go to the little speaker and say browser. So browser is this one right here. It looks like a don't go there symbol, but that's the one that we've installed that works great. That'll let you search the internet. And then we're going to go back here and get into the apps. So when you want to go to the apps that are installed in here and you've installed them, hit that the little 6 button where my thumb is, and then you'll go down to VLC. And once you've plugged your USB sticks in, you can grab the videos off here. A note about the USB sticks. When you buy them off of Amazon, they're only a couple dollars a piece for a 32 or a 64 gig stick. They want to be either FAT32 or FAT16. They come pre-formatted like that. Don't buy the ones that aren't pre-formatted, otherwise you'll have to format it yourself. So on Amazon, it will tell you it's a FAT32 or a FAT16 formatted USB stick. When you put your videos on a USB stick, just take them around here and plug them in the side of the machine and it will read them. You go to the VLC like that, and it'll open up all the videos that you've got on this thing. So if we wanted to see, for instance, this video right here, it'll give you a check mark right there that says it's available on one of the sticks that you've got plugged in here. I'm going to hit the Go button. And then the volume's right there. You can turn that up as loud as you want it. Or you can mute it. If you wanted to go to a different video, you'd hit the back button and it's going to browse again. And then you could go to one like this. And if it ever jiggles a little there in the center, it'll come into play. Now, one thing I do want to show you at this point, turn the volume down a little bit. This is really, really important. You want these videos to loop during your service. So while the video is playing in the VLC player, hit the little black button in the center. That's going to pause it. And then I'm going to use this white circle to toggle down. And I'm going to go over here to the 3 little dots right there. And I'm going to hit that Go button again. And it's going to give me all the options playing inside that video. So I'm going to go down to repeat mode. And if there's a 1 in there, that video is going to loop and loop and loop. And that's what you want it to do. If it's not, it's going to end that video and then it'll go to a black screen. So make sure that the repeat mode is turned on. And that is it for setting up the apps. We'll do one final section. We'll be all done. Now that you've got it set up, keystoned, this was in place the entire time. Remember, we kind of micro-adjusted the wall to make sure the whole thing was filled. Now we're going to put the Bier stands together. So these X's slot together just like that. And then when they're in, you're going to push them through this, and they're going to fit right down in that groove. Now, something really important about your version of the Bier. We very intentionally cut holes all the way through the bottom of the Bier so that this X goes not only through the Bier, but directly to the floor. It's critical that happens, because what will happen is when the casket is centered on these 2 pieces and there's down weight on this directly on the floor, it's immobile. You don't want anybody reaching in to hug the body or bump this because it will bump the projection. Now, once this is through to the floor and there's weight on it and somebody bumps it, it may vibrate a little bit, but it won't set anything off as far as the keystoning goes. So your version of this is going to go straight through this right to the floor, and then that Bier is no longer mobile, which it needs to be anchored. This device is not meant for you to transport the casket on. It is mobile with a projection system in it, so you can slide it through without the casket on when you pull these up. So I'm going to put one more in here like this. One note about the tops of the X's on the plexiglass models. You're going to get a little baggie that has 8 little clear tubes in it with a slit down the middle. Those are designed to go over the top of the X on each one of these sections here and each one of the 4 sections on that one. It keeps the wooden or the metal caskets from sliding. It gives them friction. On the wooden Biers, they already have those built in. So one note, you want to make sure those go on here so there's no slippage. I wanted to remind you that you need to center the casket left to right. Don't get over one side or the other too far. The projector should be set out far enough so it misses anything. If you see any shadowing on the top, it's because the projection hasn't been pulled out far enough and it's hitting the bottom of the casket. So center that casket left to right, forward to back. It's anchored. You're set to go. When and if you do a cremation, there's going to be a piece that comes with this that goes across the top. It's going to sit right there. And what you'll do is you'll pull out one of the X's and put it in the center just like that. And then you'll put your cap on top of it, and the urn will sit right here. The other X, we pull these out, and that is a great place to put a floral arrangement on either side with urn sitting there. On the wood versions, the box is a little bit higher, so you put the box on top of the X, and that should locate the urn right about there. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at 864-313-4477. Thank you so much.